So I originally had no interest in this game. I've picked up like every Street Fighter that's ever released, and I'll play them for a little bit and then kind of lose interest. And this one I was going to just say, nah, I'm just going to skip this one completely. But of course they had to drop a demo and I had to try it out. So I wanted to share my experience with all of you viewers on how I found this, starting with my trial through the World Tour. So we go through a couple cool cinematics, and then we're introduced to our titular character here, who seems to be Luke, who is the sensei at this little place that we're at. And as most senseis do, he's just smoking these punching bags into the walls. Definitely not intimidating to students whatsoever. But then he seems to notice us after punching yet another one into the wall. Oh hey, there, look at you, you must be the newbie. We are then thrust into the character creator screen, which is actually a lot of fun. There's a lot of detail to this and a lot of nuance. You can pretty much create whatever type of character you want. I did my best to try and replicate myself, but you know, you can only do so much with these kind of things. I was able to properly do my eyebrows though, which I very much appreciated. Now that we are perfectly created, we are sent back to the dojo to learn how to literally walk a couple steps. He then proceeds to congratulate us for taking said steps, almost feeling a little condescending, and then we're moving on to task number 2, which is to do a lap around the gym. This is starting to feel a little bit too realistic in my old days in the dojo, and I'm not sure I really enjoyed this part that much. They take a break from the ridiculous dojo here to try and teach us about the new modern control pattern, which seems like it's a little bit of an easier or kind of beginner-friendly pattern. I found it okay, I guess. I would need more time to play with it, but from there we went on tutorial with his just fighting game basics, and I won't bore you with that right now, but the demo's out there if you want to try it. Alright, so we've learned how to take a couple steps, we've done a lap around the gym, we've pressed a couple buttons, and here comes this guy with the flying kick. And, as any good sensei, as you know, would do, how we are being aggressively challenged by this individual, he just stands back and lets us hash it out. Lucky for us, our opponent is fairly inexperienced and is throwing more hands than Shiva at a massage parlor. So we are able to dispatch them fairly quickly, except, canonically, we don't. Womp womp. This exchange ends in a double KO. So after teaching us how to take a couple steps, doing a lap around the gym, letting his 2 inexperienced trainees beat the crap out of each other, what does he do next? The only logical thing for a sensei, go beat some people up in the streets. That's what martial arts is for. So jokes aside, after that we're thrust into this kind of open world concept. We're given a cellular device, I'm assuming, of some sort, and we have some apps that we can do. This part of the game actually looked pretty cool. Even if I don't get into like the online stuff, the kind of free roaming and being able to interact with characters at different levels, this looked actually like a lot of fun and something that I might enjoy quite a bit as a concept. So let's move forward and see what my experiences were as we're out here beating people up in the streets. So our first interaction is with Alice, who's a tutorial character. Looks like she's teaching us how to do some chain combos, some target combos that looks like they've made it a little bit easier. Just kind of tap some buttons and make a combo as opposed to all the just frame links, I think is what I got from this training session. I proceeded to go out and get absolutely shit kicked by a mime who wouldn't shut the fuck up the whole time we were fighting. After that, I realized that these characters had levels and I should find one that's more on mine, so we found Wiener Warren over here to give a beating to so we can get a little level up. Now you won't believe it, but at this point we get even more sage advice from our sensei. Go eat some pizza. You have low stamina, you're training hard, you need something nutritious to back you up, like pizza. Unfortunately, we have to go over and ask Wiener Warren for some pizza after we just beat him up, so I don't know how that's gonna go. So this is a cool part of these games that I enjoy, when they kind of put things in there like little items that you can get to restore your vitality or give you a stamina boost or maybe make you more powerful. So this is kind of introducing those things in this game, it's a very basic way of doing it, but I mean, we're eating some pizza and we're getting some life back, so. So at this point, Sensei says, hey, you're doing pretty good, go check out that dark alleyway over there, where we're ambushed by Steve from Minecraft. This is seemingly introducing extreme fights, I think, which is an option in the demo menu, where you can fight multiple opponents. It's kind of like chaotic kind of party style thing. Not really sure how I feel about this at this point. Could be fun to kind of mess around in, but for the short time that I played it here, it wasn't really anything to get a gauge off of. Next, we're brought to a tutorial about apparel and customizing our characters with different accessories and whatnot, and more customization in any game is always good. You can always personalize your character as much as you want, make them look the way that you want, maybe the style that you want or the style that you like, or in my case, the style that you wish you had. I lost that long ago. But in this case, we're only able to buy one kind of Technicolor hat, which is something. I'll give it that, it is something. And now we're off to find our sensei again. He's hiding somewhere in the city, and we have to find him for our next challenge. After wandering around and kind of seeing what I could do, we doubt the wisdom of our old sensei, and he says, oh really? Well, I'll take both of you on at the same time. Don't bother taking turns. Let's see what you've learned out there in the streets. Luke goes on to absolutely humiliate us. Like, I haven't been this embarrassed since I trusted that fart at the high school dance. Like, at no point was his health bar even in close to being in jeopardy. And then we have the looky-loos in the back who are probably placing side bets. It was just not a fun experience for me or for my pal here. But the icing on the cake is, what does Luke say to make us feel better about this? What is his big piece of advice? Man, you two are great students, with a big thumbs up, and we're here for it. We're like, yeah, we are. We're the best. Like we're just walking out of a Tony Robbins presentation or something. Who wrote this guy? Who thought this guy was a good mentor? And any... Oh my goodness. So after I finished the world tour, I went in to try and do some 1v1s to just kind of get a grasp on how this game is different than other Street Fighter games. One of the things that I noticed almost right away was the commentator feature, which I actually thought was going to be kind of cheesy. Some of it is, but it's also very informative for maybe newer players or people that are still kind of understanding or just getting into fighting games. And I think that's kind of what Street Fighter 6 is trying to do here. Like, there's a lot of casual stuff that hasn't been in previous games that would just draw somebody in who just wants to play a single player game, and then maybe they get into the fighting game genre. So having a commentator there to kind of say things like, oh, why would you do a projectile there? Oh, the raw super, things like that, might kind of help them out learning fundamentals as a fighting game after they've kind of done with kind of mashing around. Arguably my favorite part of the gameplay is the drive meter. I love meter management in any sort of aspect, and there's so many different things that you can do with the drive meter that are really fun. It was fairly easy for me to understand. I had to go through the tutorial a couple times to kind of grasp the whole aspect of it, but I think it adds a really solid layer to the game, especially when you get to things like parries and strong reversals and things like that. I'm kind of, dare I say, excited to get into the full game when it releases and kind of play around with that a little bit, at least until Mortal Kombat 12 launches. Other than the drive meter, though, there wasn't really anything else to report on this new Street Fighter game. It felt to me as I will say, a very, very casual Street Fighter player. Just kind of like another Street Fighter game. The moves and the way the pokes work and the combos work, which is probably part of the charm, and with the added drive meter, maybe that is kind of enough to mix things up a bit. But there wasn't really anything else that stood out to me in this game. That being said, of course, it is just a demo. There were only 2 playable characters, and both of them were pretty basic. You know, Ryu is Ryu, and Ryu's gonna Ryu. And Luke, you know, once I kind of got over the douchey sensei part of him, his moveset's actually kind of fun. So as a new character, I'm excited to see what he does. And I think the one takeaway from this experience that I will say is I had zero plans to purchase this game before today. I was going to skip it entirely, but after playing this demo, it does look like there are some things that I could have fun with and kind of play around with, and I do actually plan on purchasing it now. So if you can get your hands on this demo, if you haven't, I believe it's out for PlayStation only right now. Or maybe this video helped you see some parts of it that you might want to explore a little bit further. Yeah, my experience here was a positive one overall, and I'm excited to try out the game. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like because it really helps me out, and subscribe if you haven't. Make fighting game content all the damn time. Hashtag Bonehawks and all that stuff, and we'll see all you Bonehawks in the next video.